Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, as usual, my friends. I tell you, I spent all morning writing and watching the hearings on the judge Amy Coney Barrett, and I don't know. I'm going to tell you something. The acting phase is amazing, right? Because if you listen to Amy, when White House started to give his presentation about money in politics, which is very obscene, she had that look of shock in her eyes. I mean, in this country or in any country, a lot of times you could be working for the devil and not know it. You could be working for all these corporations and not know it. It is amazing because I don't know that Amy has a clue of how deep the plutocracy is, how deep the oligarchy is, and how so many people in this system are just playing the game that others are puppeteering. In other words, you're just in the game, and other people are directing you. And many times you are ignorant to how you are being directed. And I honestly, a friend of mine sent me a note and said, she looks like she's really shocked. Do you think she's really shocked? And I'm like, yeah, because a lot of these people are doing things they don't have a clue that they're doing. They don't know that they're being used. So yeah, I think she's shocked. I honestly think she's shocked. Anyway, but we're going to have a good show for you today. Let me make sure I get this other thing queued here, and then we'll go ahead and get started like rather quickly, like we're supposed to. I got that one in already. Great. Está bien, vamos a comenzar nuestro show ahora. Okay, what is the title of the show? Para ver, déjame mostrarles ahora. Let me go ahead and put it in there now and show what I have on the screen. Here we go. The title of the show today is Party Snubs Democratic Candidate. Al Franken slams Lowry. Trump Petri dish. Lindsey blues. But before I get started, I better check on Michael Rudnin. This sore throat and cough is starting to tick me off. Been nearly 2 weeks now. Scheduled another doctor's appointment for Thursday afternoon. I might miss a watch. Let me tell you what I don't want to miss. I don't want to miss your life, brother. You make sure you keep yourself healthy and you do what you got to do. You said you had that COVID test. Let us know. Let the family know what the results of that stuff is going to be. How are you doing? Let's know more about know more about you, brother. We need to know what how you're really doing, not just hanging in there in pain. I did that I wrote that article the other day, Americans suffering in silence. Let's not suffer in silence. Let's have our outlets. I know a lot of people are all locked up in their homes right now. And a lot of people feel sort of a despair and they feel like they want to be out there. The good thing about what we are going through now and what folks in the past had when they had to lock themselves up is we didn't have virtual outputs or virtual outlets. We do now. So consider this Politics Done Right a part of your virtual outlet, a part of your family. So let's go ahead and be true on that. Okay, so Michael said COVID is negative and strep is negative. This sore throat is a minor annoyance for as I'm concerned. Okay, so maybe you just have a cold and a sore throat. So just, what we like to do here is we take honey, hot honey, the heavy duty honey, and you just squeeze a couple of limes in there and you add a little bit of pepper. What's that pepper? Cayenne pepper. Mix it up good. And suck on that, kind of sip on, not sip because it's kind of thick, but kind of sip on that thick liquid and let it go there. I have a feeling that the acid kind of kills some stuff. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so we'll know about that. But take care of yourself, my friends. Welcome, Michael Rudnin. Welcome, Bridge MCP. Welcome, Tank 28. Norman Reynolds, welcome aboard, my brothers and my sisters. I think I got everybody that's here so far. Of course, the others are coming now. Okay. Why did the party snub state Senate Democratic candidate Kathy Lewis? Al Franken still has a punch. They scolded Lindsey Graham today on that debate. I hope you guys saw it. Honey's an antibacterial. Thank you. Protex Blue. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. And they scolded Lindsey Graham, Petri dish. Anyhow, Lindsey Graham false attack on ACA exposed his state as a taker state, a welfare state, when he tried to cry about the amount of money his state receives, and because of the money his state receives, he does not like the ACA. It's a lie, of course. They didn't take the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, and you remember what we spoke about yesterday when we discussed Kulkarni and the fight back that he needs to give. Roberto Lewis, welcome aboard. Honey, lemon, ginger, and garlic. Listen to Roberto. He has all those magical cures, I tell you. He takes all that stuff. In fact, he made a bottle of that thing the other day. I'm going to have to go pick it up sometime. Trump and his Petri dish of White House staffers are a menace to America. We're going to talk about that. And Kathy Lewis, Florida's Democratic State District candidate, was snubbed by the party. While she received 46% of the vote in her first run, they did not see it as worthwhile in investing in her race. We're going to talk about that. And I want to say a few things about that other than what we did in the interview after I do the interview. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's do a little video here. We're going to start with this one here on Lindsey.
Didn't enumerate what was actually in the Constitution about the election.
Exactly.
Like that, failing to even just say, well, here's what it says in the Constitution.
Especially as an originalist.
As an originalist, that's exactly right. But as I introed our break panel here, I said we've had some questioning of the nominee and we've had a debate about Obamacare. It all began with Lindsey Graham's opening statement, with Dick Durbin responding about 2 hours later. Here's a quick mashup of it.
Under the Affordable Care Act, 3 states get 35% of the money, folks. Can you name them? I'll help you. California, New York, and Massachusetts. They're 22% of the population.
When the chairman opened up on it and said what he did, I was puzzled. 3 states get 35% of the money? How can that possibly be true? Well, it turns out because those states decided to extend Medicaid coverage to the people who lived in the states, and his did not. And as a consequence, fewer people in South Carolina have the protection of health insurance.
So, Claire McCaskill, you and I began yesterday by being surprised at the discipline of the Democrats on health care. I would say the discipline drew blood because Lindsey Graham's opening statement today, where he felt the need to rebut what he thought was said yesterday. And then, by the way, gave a description of what he'd like to see in South Carolina, which I believe someone might say, hey, you just described Obamacare. But Senator Claire McCaskill, was that quite the tell from Lindsey Graham this morning?
It was a tell, and he was defensive. And, by the way, let's point out to everyone that South Carolina is a big winner with federal money. For every dollar South Carolinians pay to the federal government, they get back 7. They're in the top 15 states in the country, getting more money back from the federal government than they pay in. So not only was he wrong about the way he used context for his argument, it shows how defensive they are. But what I think is kind of really weird about today is the fake page from the Republican senators. Trump campaigned on appointing nominees to the Supreme Court that would overturn abortion rights and the ACA. Well, so why are these, and by the way, some of those Republican senators did too. And they're all acting that they're so outraged that the nominee is getting asked about it. Well, of course she's going to be asked about it because that's what the guy who nominated her said he was going to do. Seems pretty simple to me.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to seem pretty simple to me. Hey, look, there are two. I hope you guys got the 2 important things that they said there. One, the reason Lindsey Graham is getting the amount of money that he's getting, likewise it applies to Texas and all those red states that didn't take the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, is simple, right? Here's the deal. These states are paying taxes. all of us are paying a tad bit more Medicare tax, a tad bit more of all these little taxes to cover Obamacare, right? So that everybody would have better health insurance. And there's a whole lot of complexities there, unnecessary complexity, but that's how you have to do it in a system where you have private insurance. But the fact is, states had the option of opting out of the Affordable Care Act, the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. So guess what? These foolish states are paying taxes, but for ideological reasons, they're telling their people, we don't want that Obamacare. It doesn't work. Look, you're not covered. You're not covered because they did not accept the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. And then they say, oh, New York, California, and Massachusetts, which represent 22% of the country's population, they are receiving 35% of the money. What they don't also tell you is 22% of the population only have 6% of the senators, right? So, I mean, the amount of stupidity that they have to expect of you, they have to believe that you are not intelligent to somehow fall for what they're saying. The reason their states are in the state that they're in, and by the way, all these red states are takers. They get more money from the federal government than they give into the federal government. The blue states support them. They are welfare states. And why are they welfare states? It's not the people in the states. It's that these leaders are simply evil. And what do I mean by they're evil? They don't take the taxes that they should from the corporation so that the people would have good education, good medical care, and all of that. They don't do that. They beg the government, they beg the blue states to give them more money. They don't collect taxes, and then they accuse the blue states of saying, you guys just tax people too much, and that's why people in California and New York are moving to Texas. No. Most of the people in California and New York are staying their butts right where they are. That's why their populations have stayed. Yeah, Texas is growing from a lot of other conditions, and Texas will be a blue state either after 2020 or after 2022. So, bottom line is this. What Lindsey Graham had to say was silly. He is the one stopping his state from getting appropriate funding from the federal government for the Affordable Care Act, which would have ensured a lot more of his people at a discount. Remember, the first 3 years of the Affordable Care Act costed the states zero. And thereafter, 10% of whatever the cost is. Right now, the states are paying more money because they're still paying the taxes. And still, they have to have some sort of a minimal program to simply keep those that are dying in their states, those sick people in their states without insurance, at least on life support, so that they don't die too fast or die such a gruesome death. Those guys in these red states, those guys who run the red states, they're criminals, they're murderers, they're... Let's move to the other video before I get out of hand. Let's go ahead and talk about Al Franken. Al Franken did a great job with Lowry about the hypocrisy of this new justice that we're getting. Check this out, and then we'll move it to the other side.
The perception of the priorities of this seat almost over everything else. Should that be a concern to some of these incumbents?
I don't think so. I mean, just the idea that because you have a Judiciary Committee hearing, there can be no deal on a stimulus package, I don't think makes any sense. I got to respond really quickly to something Al Franken said, hitting Judge Barrett for alleged hypocrisy during the Garland nomination. What she said, the crux of her remarks in that interview, was that under our constitutional system, the president has the power to nominate, and the Senate has the power to confirm or not, and both of them can act or not in keeping with their own prerogatives. So the idea that she was hypocritical is a gross misreading of what she said.
I saw your finger out there. Go ahead now, Franken. Go ahead and respond. Yes.
That's one of the things she said. That's one of the things she said. But she went to great lengths to explain why it was proper to seat Justice Kennedy in '88, but not to take up Merrick Garland. And she went out of her way to say, oh, they're already casting primary votes. That's what she said. They're already doing votes in New Hampshire. She did say that. And why would she say that if it didn't matter? And this is completely hypocritical. Go back and look at that interview. Yes, she did say at the end, with raw power, the Senate can deny this. Yes, that's part of the Constitution. Well, stacking the court, there's nothing against that in the Constitution either. But if the Republicans do this, all it says is all we care about is raw power. But not one Republican said what Rich said. Lindsey Graham didn't say it. Tom Tillis didn't say it. Ted Cruz didn't say it. John Cornyn didn't say it. Mike Lee didn't say it. None of them said that. They are all giant hypocrites.
Well, I think as you conceded, she said what I said she said, which is that the president has the power.
Yeah, but why did she say the two previous things? Why did she say, so did she bring up something that was meaningless? No, she went to great lengths to say the difference between Judge Kennedy. Why bring that up? Why bring up something meaningless unless you're not, if you're actually not being genuine?
Is when you have someone of similar ideological leaning as the vacancy, it's not going to be as politically contentious. But the president has the power to nominate, and the Senate has the power to act or not. And the president clearly, many cases.
And by the way, is she of the same political leaning as Ginsburg?
So when the president and the Senate majority are the same party during an election year, these nominees almost always get confirmed.
That's pure power. Right. That's pure power.
Pure power. It's just a power play. Nothing more, nothing less. Just a power play. I see that I got some, let's see. Welcome aboard. I think Protex Blue is new. Let's see. Paulette Stanzel, welcome aboard. You guys, there's a great interview that I want you guys to see because it tells of us. Manuel Herrera, how are you doing? Polls look really good for Biden, including right-leaning polls. Folks cannot take these for granted. Vote, please, and take friends with you. If polls are wrong this time around, it will be the end of the poll industry. All right, let's halt for a minute, my brother Herrera. Listen to me. The polls I think I've said this like 10,000 times. The polls in 2016 were not wrong. What happened is they were interpreted through the rosy glasses we wanted to wear. Nobody in their right minds would think that America somehow could have some sort of a system that would get Donald Trump elected. All the polls came within the margin of error. And the margin of error means after we've done this poll, we can be plus and minus that number. And while they had a bias towards Hillary, there are a lot of intrinsics that people who do polling know about, and that is the projection of, rather the directionality of the poll, the trend line. Hillary's trend line all of November, end of October, November was downwards. Her trend line was downwards even as she led. That's the opposite from Brother Biden. Biden trend line. We are expecting a tightening. Everybody thought by now we would start to see that tightening. What we're seeing, a different trend with Biden, is an opening. In other words, it's getting wider. So Biden's trend line is for a larger win than his poll numbers are currently predicting. So here's what I'm trying to tell all my brothers and sisters. Yes, the polls are good. They are only as good as we actually vote in. So we have to keep the pressure on all progressives and Democrats to go out there and vote. Irrespective, if you have to spend 11 hours in that line, do it. Call somebody and let us bring you a pizza. Call a friend. We'll bring you a pizza. We'll hold your space in the line so you can run to the bathroom. We have to work this together. That's what we got to do. So Brother Manuel Herrera is correct. The polls are here. The polls are correct, but what we have to do is we have to vote as the polls actually were requesting or asking. That is what's important. That is important. So, but the one thing that puts unnecessary things out, right, is that I want people to know the reality. Don't keep that fallacy in your head that somehow the polls in 2016 were wrong. It's statistics, and it fell within the statistical zone expressed by the polls. Okay, here's a funny one before we go to our interview. This one is really funny. It's about Petri dishes. Everybody know what a Petri dish is, right? Check this out.
Why doesn't he do it in a mask? I mean, he could still blunt not just his political fortunes. He could blunt the ill effects, literally ill effects, on his own supporters. I mean, there is something that makes my stomach flip over when I put up that live picture. I don't know if you can see it, but the rally to which he is flying, maskless, on Air Force One, contagious potentially, with some of the kindest people I ever met when I worked in government, working on board Air Force One, people with no discernible political views, potentially getting breathed on by Donald Trump and his petri dish of White House staffers. He is now going to stand at a rally and breathe his own COVID germs all over anyone that has to come close enough to him to protect him from any threats to his own safety. I mean, why not lose without killing people?
It's not only is it baffling, but it is literally just, I think, the definition of insanity, because he truly believes, I think, that he is exceptional, that he's cured. I think he uses these words and he tries to project this image so often, Nicole, that he believes this. And I think anybody else who becomes unfortunate to be sick around him, well, it's their fault, because he was able to get sick and somehow miraculously be cured, to, as John puts it, with, a series of drugs that nobody else in the world has received in that combination or in that sequence. So it's just baffling.
It is just baffling that Donald Trump, it's a petri dish. But I love one of our listeners said, Michael Rudnan says, earlier this year, the DOJ says intentionally spreading coronavirus was terrorism. Now we know our president is a terrorist. He is spreading coronavirus as he's parading around the country with these big crowds with no mask on. Okay. But anyhow, I saw another thing. Hey, Paul Fleming, welcome aboard. We have a visitor from Japan. There it goes, Japan. How are you doing? Sue Borchardt Yosawa. Welcome to Politics Done Right. Welcome to Politics Done Right. Hey, look, I want you guys. Well, actually, you know what? Before I do this, I want to go ahead. I tell you what, before I do the interview, let's go ahead and get this stuff out of the way. Folks, please remember my book. What is my book again? It's Worth It. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors. You can get it at Amazon. And right there at Amazon, and I just put that link in there for Amazon into the feed there. So if you want to get the book, just check it out there, because it is worth getting. I guarantee you will even bring more people to the polls. You're going to get some of those right-wingers to vote the right way. No, actually, I put a lot into that book, and I think it will make a difference. So check it out, and after you check it out, let me know, let us know how we did at Amazon, etc. Now, if you want an autographed copy of that book, you can get it at our store, and that is where our store is. And what else can you get at our store? Hey, check this out. Our cups, right? The Politics Done Right cup. You can get our t-shirts. You can get our face masks. You can get all that good stuff there. And you can buy the book there. Anybody who buys the book at politicsdoneright.com/store, that's a hard copy, I will send it autographed. In fact, I have a few of them that I have to get into the mail today or tomorrow that I'm going to autograph and send out to folks who've ordered it from politicsdoneright.com/store. That is how you help and support our movement, my friend. So go ahead to politicsdoneright.com/store. Please go ahead and get the books, t-shirts, cups, whatever. And of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, click that join button, become a new member. If you become a new member right now, I'll see it on the screen and be able to give you a shout out right here live as I see that green button, that pink button come out and say that I've just received a new member while I was live in real time. So go ahead and click that join button, become a member. Even if I'm not live, you can just look at any one of our videos and click the join button to become a part of our family. We're growing. We're growing. We're growing. We're gonna have some specials on YouTube. YouTube only for the YouTube members. Of course, we'll have the specials only on the Facebook members and on the of course the Patreon as well. You can support us as well via Patreon. Here it is. And I'm getting into the show in a minute. Patreon is at politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Politicsdoneright.com/Patreon is how you support us on Patreon. You can also support us at PayPal, and that is politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. And I have it right there, politicsdoneright.com. Welcome, Lowry Wilson. Lowry Wilson just became a new member. Let's give Lowry a big hand. She just became a member on YouTube. So folks, just click that join button. Become a member. If you're not on our YouTube channel right now, you just go put in a new link in there. Just click on that link inside of your Facebook feed and all the other feeds. That is politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. Again, Lowry Wilson, thank you so kindly for becoming a member of our YouTube channel. You know, we'll have our live streams that we'll do together where we can talk one-on-one in our live stream that we'll do special for the YouTube folks. And we'll have other perks for our YouTube members as well. Okay, let's get busy and get started with this interview. I saw an article about Kathy Lewis at Daily Kos. Semdem interviewed her for an article. And I said, after I read the article, I said, oh my God, I have to interview her. And there's a reason why. As a party, those of you who in the Democratic Party, we have to make sure that we don't have preconceived notions to who and who cannot win. I want you to listen to this story and then we'll take it on the other end. So welcome to Kathy Lewis. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm honored to be with Kathy Lewis, the Democrat for Florida Senate District 20 candidate. I read quite a bit about you. First of all, welcome to Politics Done Right.
Thank you very much for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, look, Ms. Lewis, I read about you on the Daily Kos. There was an article when I read about you, I said, my God, this is an activist. This is somebody who is close to the people. I need to have her on this show because this is what people who are going into Congress should look like, should have done to represent those of us in the regular communities, in the grassroots elsewhere. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Well, first I want to thank, there's so many people that have helped us. Semdem, Zen Trainer, Vet Wife, Bethesda 1971, and Janelle Anthro, and many others. So I want to thank them so much for talking about us and telling our story. As you said, I'm Kathy Lewis. I'm a candidate for State Senate in District 20 in Florida. And this is our second time running. We ran a campaign in 2018. And I was pretty much just an angry parent that got angry about the way the state handles disability benefits and the almost appalling way that is so ineffective way that they set it up where you just can't access benefits. So I got angry about that and wrote to DC and in I wrote to this Health and Human Services Secretary and several others. And in 2 days, my daughter's case was fully funded and ready to go. The benefits, another nightmare. However, the turnaround was so quick when I wrote to DC, I became angry. I mean, is that what parents have to do? We have to write to Washington, DC to get the people in Florida to do their job. So I told my husband, I just can't take this anymore. No one's doing anything about this, and decided to run. No hope of winning, no understanding that I was going against a giant in politics, the senator that was there at the time. And everyone was telling us we were crazy, no one would vote for us, the usual things that a lot of candidates face. However, we overperformed and got 46.5% of the vote.
Let me stop you right there. I want you to finish the story, but I don't think people understand that for somebody who has no real name recognition to have run a campaign as a novice and been able to get 46%. People, let me tell you guys something. That is not marvelous. That is exceptional. And I wanted people to, you just said that just rolled off your tongue. People have to understand what that really meant. So please continue, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you so much for that. 46.5% is 3.6% from a win.
Yes.
So it was a good performance, and considering that we had very little help except for Dr. Fergie Reed at 90 for 90, he was there from day one, and a handful of volunteers. We put together about $25,000 against his well over 300,000. So we were out, fundraised 12-1. And we did that sort of performance. It was astonishing. You're right, Egberto, astonishing. So anyway, he has resigned, that senator, back at the end of May, and we decided to run again. I mean, we had to because of the performance of last time. But a little bit more about me is when I was told and faced all this sort of stop, Kathy, you can't do this, as a lot of us face. I realized that people really didn't know me. I'm from Baltimore, and Baltimore is a beautiful city. Yes. But I grew up in one of the worst places in the country, an unwinnable place, surrounded by poverty, gun violence, drug use. I mean, unwinnable at every turn. My mother was shot with a stray bullet. My cousin's 4-year-old daughter was shot in the head with a stray bullet. I mean, it was an active shooter almost every day of my childhood and young adult life. And so facing unwinnable situations and being told you can't do it is a very natural circumstance to find myself in. So running in this seat and hearing people say that, all it did, it was very familiar, and all it did was encourage me and inspire me to keep going, because that's what I'm accustomed to, being told I can't do this for whatever reason. So that didn't bother me. I didn't care about that. And, as I said, I wasn't thinking about winning. But because we did so well last time, and this seat is a special election, as I said, it's an open seat, although we've been drinking from a fire hydrant because it started at June 1st. So thank goodness we had run a campaign before, because we have some experience. And so now we're up and running and happy to go. I scratched and clawed my way out of the hood, if you will, to Johns Hopkins. My husband, I've been married for 28 years, is a surgeon. My husband has a bachelor's, a master's, an MD, a PhD, and an MBA. The four degrees from Johns Hopkins and the other one from St. Leo University. And our oldest daughter graduated from Johns Hopkins. So we have this sort of weird legacy in our family with Johns Hopkins. And as you can see, we value education, which is very important, and which is pretty much what propelled my life forward. And then we have a younger daughter that has a disability who also graduated from University of South Florida from the Learning Academy. Our daughter is on the autism spectrum. So, I face, growing up in poverty, it really leaves you with a particular set of skills. Once you sort of escape that, you have this sort of belief that you can do things, things that are difficult. And having a child with a disability and dealing with the state as in that regard is extremely difficult for parents. And I feel like there isn't anyone really doing anything about this. So we will. Of course, there are other issues. We have COVID-19. That's the number one thing. We have to have protections for everyone. But once we get that sort of handled, we have to start looking back at the other challenges, equal rights, criminal justice, the environment, teacher salaries, things like that. So those are priorities for us.
Now, I wanted you to tell your story for one specific reason, and I'm going to go further into the campaign, etc. You are the prototype. Your family is the prototype for what America has told many of us. You've grown up in poverty, and you've risen. You've not lifted yourself up by your bootstrap. I just learned that that's not a real phrase. That phrase is that was to say no one can lift themselves up solely by a bootstrap. But there were environments that use all your better abilities to grow up. When I say grow up, I mean to move up in life. You did all that was necessary to do so, more so than the candidate you're running against. You did your part.
Yes.
In doing so, you also did your part in saying you wanted to give back by running for this state Senate seat.
That's correct.
That is what the Democratic Party and supposedly all parties are asking people to do.
Right.
And it is something then that one expects to be not necessarily rewarded, but accepted. In other words, you're doing that. Let's go ahead and make sure we lift you up and move you forward. Now let's get to where I'm really heading to. The party. What type of support would you say you have received from the party?
Well, this is
as delicate as you need to be.
Well, this is the challenge. This is what John Lewis, Congressman Lewis, talked about, getting into good trouble. There was a Tampa Bay Times reporter that had called me, and he called because he had seen a video of a leader in a Black Caucus meeting answering the question, what is the party going to do for African American candidates, in particular, State Senate District 20, which is ours. And this person had some trouble answering the question, was sort of twisting themselves and not to outright say no, but it was Facebook Live. Someone got it, a reporter. It sort of was on Twitter for several days. So a reporter called me and said, is the party really not helping you? And my response was no. That is pretty much all I said. And that sort of created a storm, if you will, on good and bad ones. Okay.
Right.
The people, from that story, I received scores of volunteers, thousands of dollars, right? A small segment of leaders in the party did not like me answering the question honestly. And that reporter looked at my opponent's
record
money he received, maybe about $10,000, and we received zero. I mean, it's in the record that nothing was happening. And as you know, and when I say people weren't helping us, the party, some people like to question me about that. I'm part of the party and I'm helping you. Well, if you're helping me, I'm not talking about you. Okay, so I just want to make that clear. But there's some leaders within the party that didn't like me answering and talking to that reporter. So, but prior to that, I had two big donors called me and said they wanted to help our campaign. One had about 50,000, the other had upwards of 300,000. But when they saw the article, it bothered them, which they have the right to be bothered, of course, and called me and said that they were getting pushback when they called certain big donors. Someone within the Democratic Party had told them not to give us money. So the party had told people not to give us money. Now I'm hearing this from these two wealthy people and I believe them. Well, from the one of them. So I thought about what he was saying, they were telling me to, just don't answer the question, don't talk to the press, pretty much. And I said, okay, thank you very much. I hung up and then I was trying to get myself together so I could respond with some civility. And I called them back in a few minutes and I said, thank you very much, but I'm not going to accept your money because I am not going to be told what to say.
Stop right there, please, my friend. Those that are listening, when our politics become Kathy Lewis style politics, then you know the people that are going to be representing you really means business. Really mean business. Because I tell you, most people running, if they know there's a $300,000 check here, for simply keeping your mouth shut, they may take it. And at that point, and forgive the word, but I think it is the best that we use it appropriately. At that point, you are prostituting yourself. And I think we have to be frank with the terminologies that we use. Please proceed, Ms. Lewis.
Well, that's one of the more not so nice pieces of politics. Now that I got to see sort of how the sausage is made, if you will, and I think we ought to be making nice organic meals for everyone. Politics should be run that way. But I got to see it, and I thought about, well, you know, what is sort of there's this pressure to do what the powerful or those that are making decisions, they want you to do what they want you to do and behave in a particular way. Well, I'm here for the people. Truly. I mean, I have a life. I'm running because I was an angry parent. I don't have any need to have my ego fed in this way. This is not why I'm here. There's some other force, if you will, driving this, because it's extremely difficult. And then you have to really be centered in yourself, which I go back to growing up in poverty. That's why I could say no to lots of money. Those things are, you know, too many people have died for me to give me the right to speak. I was simply telling the truth. This particular section of the party was not helping me. That's all I said. The reporter wanted blood. I wasn't willing to get in any fight with the party over this. I simply answered the question. And what someone had told me was, what we need in politicians are this: people to be honest, right? People to stand up when they see things that are wrong, speak out against it, and to maintain your moral character for as long as you possibly can. Well, that for you long as you possibly can doesn't jive with me, because I'm not compromising it, not for money, not to win an election. You know, if we win, great. If we lose, great, because I am not basing it on money from someone who's trying to tell me what to say.
And you know,
I couldn't do it. I just couldn't.
Miss Lewis, let me tell you, and I'm gonna name you State Senator Lewis. I'm gonna name it. let me say this, okay? First of all, you're correct. This isn't about attacking a party. This isn't about doing anything, because parties. First of all, the party is not a monolith. The party is segmented into precincts, districts, all these different party animals that are around. So this is not about this. What this is, however, what I want your testimony to be is so that people in the party all over the darn country see that, in fact, there are many people, many progressives like yourself will be running. And what we want out of these folks is to understand that, you know, there won't be compromises as far as, well, I'm going to go with just the moneyed interest. Anyway, the money do have interests as well. And they are Americans as well.
Of course.
You know, and their interests must be heard, just like the interests of the poor, just like the interests of the middle class. But no one in a democracy should have the preponderance of power in what we are calling one person, one vote. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And that is what many of us as candidates and those who ultimately become legislators are faced with probably daily. You have to be clear about who you are and what you are doing. And you have to be willing to sacrifice whatever you think you have to do the right thing, which is often the most difficult thing for anyone to do. The right thing is to maintain your voice and stay focused on why you are running. They, meaning a few people, will use, well, you can't win if you keep behaving this way, or you can't do this if you do this or that. But I already know who I am. And it's just not for sale.
Not to worry, they told Barney that in New York. They also told, I don't recall the name of the senator out of Tennessee who won as well. They've been saying that sort of thing for a long time. As long as, like I said, as long as people are running on what they believe in my case, I'm a very progressive guy. I really attempt to push progressive candidates, but one of the other things I will always push is those who were aggrieved in some way. And I think that is imperative, that if we're going to have a democracy, everybody has to have a voice. Now, that said, a quick question: what's the demographics of 20?
Yes, 20 is parts of Hillsborough, Pasco, and Polk counties. We cover 3 counties, and the Polk piece is over in the I-4 corridor, a small piece there. I don't know the exact numbers. We're about 51 or 2%. Hillsborough County, another 35 or so. Pasco, and another 20 or so, or 18 or so in Polk. That's
Now,
sort of
ethnically
how
speaking, do you have Latinos, African Americans, whites?
Yeah.
What kind of blend do you have in?
Where I don't know the numbers exactly, but I'm in a mostly white district, and that is interesting to some people. You know, that I'm an African American running, and you know, I get a question sometimes. Kathy, what's it like running? You know, running in a mostly white district. I don't know what those percentages are. I could guess, but I could do an educated guess, but I'm not going to do it because I don't know what they are exactly.
But
but it's mostly white.
Let me tell you something. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and people ask me sometimes in meetings, Kathy, what's it like to run, you know, as an African American female in a mostly white district? And all I can say is, didn't they see Hamilton? I mean, race doesn't matter. I mean, the play Hamilton sort of changed all of that. And,
you know, it goes beyond that, Kat. I mean, it drives me crazy a lot of times, right? Because there's this fallacy, first of all, that if a district is black, it'll definitely, you need to throw a black candidate up. What that does a whole lot of times, it creates a black candidate that doesn't give a damn about the community and does other things. Or if you have a Latino district, you have to get, it's not the case. I'm in Texas, by the way. And here in Texas, we have a Latino district that has been represented by a white guy for a long time. And you know what that white guy did for that community? He was of the community. He made sure and took care of the community. I won't name the district because there's no need to do that, where it is where it's a particular African American district, and that the truth of the matter is that district isn't well served. I mean, so and the other thing, the other belief is that, well, you know, if you're in a white district, will they vote for a black person? I remember a guy named Obama, or remember, and also, do you remember in Seattle, it was who was there? Of course, it is, the fallacy is that somehow white people won't vote for black candidates if they have an opposing white candidate, as opposed to saying, you are intelligent enough to make the case to people, not white people or black people, but to the interest of people.
Correct.
And the question is, I think we do ourselves as a party as well a disservice by trying to rig election based on, look, I do believe in identity politics, and I won't go into that. That's a different subject.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, but that said, it is important that we have people represented that are capable of, and what's the word? Not only capable, but that are right for that particular district. And you say,
and simply willing to run.
Right.
No one had run against my opponent for nearly a decade. No one. The seat was just given to them.
You're 46%. Your 46% in the first race should have shown lost opportunity.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. Yes.
And that should have been a catalyst for them to say, well, since we are trying to pick up, and you know, Florida is one of those states that I always sit down and wonder, how could you been a Republican state on the state level for so damn long?
That's right. Well, this time, you know, because of Dr. Reed and 90 for 90 and Janelle Christensen, we have someone in every race this time. Right. And we're challenging these races, and that's the way we have to start.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, nothing will change. And it doesn't matter, you know, if you're not, if you're not, so in my instance, it's a mostly white district. Why does it matter that I'm an African American? It doesn't, and I don't believe it matters to the voters. It's the small segment of the leadership that thinks falsely that if I'm not in a what they somewhat call a minority access district, that I shouldn't run in this seat because I'm considered as an unwinnable or an unattractive candidate.
I am going to say something that's not going to go over so well, maybe with you or others, but as it turns out, that is what we call the plantation mentality within several people, not only within the Republican Party, but we're in the party where we won't go there, but you understand what I'm saying.
Right, of
Now,
course.
what would you have liked me to ask you that I didn't ask you? What would you like to say that I didn't encourage you to say?
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the bootstraps.
Please do.
When people say to me, Kathy, you pulled yourself up by the bootstraps, and that's saying, you have to have boots. And we didn't have boots to begin with. So, and a lot of people don't. So there are no boots to pull ourselves up by. We have to stay strong in who you are and believe. And one of the things that I want to do about poverty, because that's my other priority, as I come from poverty, and I'm not wealthy by no means, but my life is very different now. Poverty is something you never forget. It stays in your mind all the time. It's part of who I am. And one of the things that I want to work on in our district is what is called a universal basic income for people living at or below the poverty level. And that means that we simply give them $300 to $500 a month. Give, not all this paperwork, not all this qualifying, give. And what happens is, studies have been shown, school performance goes up, arrests go down, ER visits go down. The people generally go back to school, and in 3 to 5 years, they're off the program. We have to start seriously looking at poverty. About 46% of the people in the state of Florida live at the poverty level or below. COVID-19 probably has moved that number for people who weren't expecting to find themselves there. Poverty is man-made, low wages and oppression and other things are perpetuating it. And it is now time in a society like ours to eliminate it. And that's one of the things I like to always mention if I don't get a chance to.
Kathy Lewis, Democrat for Florida Senate District 20. In the next 22 days, we'll be calling her State Senator-elect Kathy Lewis. Thank you for
so
having
much.
been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you so much.
All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. I need to really salute the people that just came in, and then I have to answer a few things here that really got me from what you've said, my brothers and sisters. Okay, welcome aboard. Let's see who's here. Lee Grant, you made it in. Lee Grant, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Para ver, I saw somebody else, a few more that came in. Man, a lot of messages. Let's see. Killary 2020, Tank 28. Well, I think I got you already, Tank 28. Let's see who else is here. Para ver. Sniffin Biden 2020. Welcome aboard. Obama Treason 2020. What did I get here? MAGA 2020. Did I just get a whole lot of people from the right jump into my YouTube group? Anyway, you guys are welcome as well. So welcome aboard, welcome aboard, welcome aboard. Great to see you all. Let's see if I missed anybody else on the way up. Bear with me if I do, and then I'll come back. And I need to hit up something that Lee Grant said. Okay, Sue Brochat Yosawa, I think I got you. Masticator, welcome aboard. I don't think I saluted you. Paul Fleming, welcome aboard. Paul Fleming was our featured interview yesterday, I believe. Okay, let's see who else is here. Paulette Stencil, I think I called you before. Okay, if I missed you and you want to be called out, just drop your name right there. Thank you. So, hey, listen, guys. Lee Grant said the following. Identity politics is the bread and butter of leftist ideology. I cop to that. I love identity politics. The only people that will not complain about identity politics are either those that are misinformed or those at the top of the identity scale. Look, the fact that different identities have different problems, until we normalize these problems such that no one has these problems, identity politics is a must. If black women have certain things that afflict them but does not afflict others, that identity need to be isolated and those issues handled. If white women have particular issues that other identities don't share, or if women in general have issues that other identities don't share, then we must have identity politics and take care of those issues. If black people, Latinos, Asians, if these different people have different issues that afflict them because of their identity, we have to address it. There's nothing bad about it. So, as usual with what do I call it? With the right, they try to put a pejorative. They try to put a pejorative on something that is good. I am bold enough to tell you all, I love identity politics. And I will stop loving identity politics when all identities are treated equally. When all identities have equal access to success. At that point, I will no longer care about identity politics because it will be at that point moot. So brothers and sisters who have allowed the right wing to turn identity politics, just like they have turned things like liberal, supposedly for some people, into a bad word, lean into it. Lean in. Don't allow them to change what you believe for something else. Breach MCP says, if we need identity politics, then something is wrong, eh? Otherwise, we would not need it. Simple. Madre mia, corazón mia. You said it so right, Brigitte. You said it so right. Treating all identities equally, excellent goal. Thank you, Brother Michael. You see? That is what we're talking about. Anyhow, we got to get out of here. But before I get out, one more quick trip. Guys, please go ahead and get my book. Name of the book, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors. And here is the link to the book for my newcomers. Here is the link to the book. If you're on YouTube, please support our movement. Please become a part of the family. And, every once a week, we're going to meet and talk all that kind of stuff over YouTube Live. Go ahead and click that join button. Become a member now. If you become a member now quickly, I may get a chance to call you out. If not, I'll have you called out some other time. But go ahead and please click on that join button. Become a YouTube subscriber. Thank you very much, Michael, for having been here. You can also support us if you're not on YouTube but you're on Facebook. You can go to this link to support us on YouTube. I just placed that in there. It's politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. Likewise, you can go ahead and support us at Patreon at PayPal by going to politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. And of course, we want your support as a Patreon. That is where we have all these other features. So please go to politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. Love you all. I am what? Out! We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.